Sometimes the most interesting stories, the ones that really stick with you, aren't in the perfectly polished videos or articles. Nope, they're in the mistakes, the weird little glitches, the ghosts in the machine. And boy, have I stumbled upon one of the strangest digital artifacts I have ever seen. It all starts with, well, with this. Just take a second to look at that. It's a lot, right? It's just this wall of nonsense text. It feels like a broken record or a signal that's just stuck on a loop. It's confusing, it's messy, and honestly, on its own, it means absolutely nothing. But here's the thing. This text came from a video that had a very, very different title. Elegant, right? I mean, that title promises something amazing. You're picturing gorgeous drone shots, sophisticated architecture, maybe some thoughtful commentary. You can almost feel the cool mountain air and see this beautiful handcrafted stone. And that right there is the million-dollar question. How on earth do we get from a video about a breathtaking Swiss home to a transcript that sounds like a fever dream? That's the mystery we're going to unpack. So let's dig in. Okay, first things first, we need to be clear that this isn't a case of human error. Nobody fell asleep on your keyboard here. What we're actually looking at is a digital anomaly. It's a really fascinating and kind of weird glimpse into the mind of a machine. And here's the kicker. This text was made by an AI, an artificial intelligence, listened to the audio from that architecture video and did its absolute best to translate the sounds it was hearing into words. And in that process, something went profoundly, and I would argue, beautifully, wrong. So, to figure out what's going on, let's put on our detective hats. Let's treat this thing like a data set. We're going to perform a little autopsy on this text and see what secrets it's hiding. And what's wild is, once you start to actually chart the chaos, a pattern jumps right out at you. The AI wasn't just spewing random words. It was totally fixated. The most common words, by a long shot, are heat, hey, and oh. I mean, out of all the words in the English language, the machine kept landing on these three over and over and over again. And the sheer scale of the repetition is just staggering. The word heat appears over 100 times. Think about that. Not stone, not house, not view. Heat. That's the dominant signal that the machine picked out of the noise. And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It perfectly illustrates the core of the mystery. Over here on the left, you've got the words we would totally expect from a video about a Swiss stone house. And on the right, well, that's what we actually got. The gap between what we expected and what we got couldn't be wider. So what could possibly cause this? All right, so how in the world does this even happen? Well, the answer isn't about what the machine saw. It's all about how it hears. So here's what most likely happened. Picture this. The video probably didn't have much, if any, talking. It was likely just beautiful shots set to some instrumental music or maybe just ambient nature sounds. The AI transcription tool, which is built to understand human speech, gets this audio. It then desperately tries to match those nonverbal sounds to words it knows. So maybe the rhythmic beat of a song sounds to a machine a little like heat, heat, heat. A long synth note could get misinterpreted as oh or hey. The result? A transcript that's just a long list of its best but completely wrong guesses. So what we're seeing here is this giant gap between what the human creator intended and what the machine interpreted. The human wanted to share beauty and peace. The machine heard a strange, repetitive chant. And, this is where the story could end. Just a simple technical glitch. But what if we stop looking at this as a failure and start looking at it as a creation? So let's try something. Let's just forget that it's a broken transcript for a second. Instead, let's just read it. Let's listen to it, not as a technical mistake, but as a piece of found art, like accidental poetry. Just listen to the rhythm the machine found. Heat, heat, hey. And then you get these little phrases that sound weirdly human, full of pauses and affirmations. Ah, all right, yeah. And then there are these moments of just pure, simple emotion. Oh, oh, oh. When you strip away all the context, the text really does take on a life of its own. It's rhythmic, it's hypnotic, maybe even a little sad. Believe it or not, there's actually a name for what our brains are doing right now. It's called epiphenia. It's that built-in human tendency to see patterns and find meaning, even in totally random stuff. We are, at our core, meaning-making machines. You give us chaos, and our first instinct is to find a story in it, or a poem.
So what does all this mean? I mean, why are we spending all this time on some glitchy, broken transcript? Because this tiny little error actually reveals something huge, both about the technology we're building and about us. The takeaways here are surprisingly deep. First, this glitch is a great reminder that AI, as powerful as it is still an imperfect tool. And honestly, its failures can be way more interesting and revealing than its successes. They show us its limits, for sure, but they also show us something about ourselves, that deep, primal need we have to find a signal in the noise. And in a funny way, these digital screw-ups are creating entirely new, totally unintentional forms of art. It actually reminds me of something the writer Jeanette Winterson once said: "We look at the meaningless chaos of the world, and we attribute meaning to it." And that is exactly what happened here. We took the meaningless chaos of a machine's mistake, and just by paying attention to it, we found something that feels like poetry. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. We spend so much time thinking about the day when AI will understand us perfectly, but maybe the more fascinating moments are the ones like this. These moments of total misunderstanding. So the question is, when our technology fails to understand us, what does that failure really reveal about ourselves?